Hey everybody, an interesting topic today. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and the impact of governments and CBDCs. So for those of you who don't know what a CBDC is, that is a central bank digital currency, and they are coming. And if you have anything to do with crypto, try stay tuned for 10 minutes and the conclusion at the end, because it is quite important for all of us, especially as we plan for the future and freedom and things like that. So as usual, disclaimer, none of this is investment advice, just my point of view for entertainment purposes. And I like to do things in a data-driven way. So let's jump right in. So back in the day, when I was a kid, fiat was a car. Today, it's a currency. So basically, what fiat is, it's a government currency that is not linked to physical reserves like gold or silver or anything else like that. And it can lose value. You've heard me talk a lot about inflation. If there's hyperinflation, if there's a lack of trust in the currency, everything can implode pretty fast. And there are tons of cases in history where this has actually happened. And that's why it's important to really understand fiat and what it is and the danger of it. All of this will kind of make sense. Now, part of the backdrop of the reason I'm doing this is, once again, we're in FOMO times. Everybody is piling into Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a huge day, up over $3,168 in the last 24 hours. And everybody is rushing in. It's kind of funny, you couldn't convince anybody to get in at 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 12,000, 20,000, 40,000. Once it hits 50,000, it's like, oh my God, I gotta get it. So crazy time. The other thing as well, a little bit of headlines, is all the big banks are trying to get advice and counsel on how they get into the game. So it's on top of all the news yesterday and all the good news. It is that arms race to get on top of all things Bitcoin right now. And also the reason it's an arms race is because 6 weeks, just the 6 weeks so far this year, costs you 72% in loss. So if you got in January 1st versus today, you would have made a lot of money. In fact, Tesla have made, by my estimations, over $800 million already, nearly $1 billion just in a month. And MICROSTRATEGY have made $2.8 billion since October. So it's substantial. And other companies now are seeing that. And shareholders are probably demanding, hey, company X, how come you're not investing in crypto? Anyway, enough of that. You know that. So let's talk a bit about the governments and banking and central banks and inflation and money printing and how that impacts Bitcoin. So this is a quote from Janet Yellen just the other day. She said, "Whatever it takes will go down in the annals of central banking history as the most important interventions ever. It's hard to imagine where we would be without it." So obviously she's talking about central bank intervention, money printing to basically stimulate the economy again. But with those types of words, if you read between the lines, it's big. A lot of people are talking about this whole change as well, in a move ultimately towards central bank digital currencies as being the biggest overhaul since Bretton Woods. And the US is looking at CBDCs. In fact, when they were issuing stimulus checks were being issued to dead people, wrong people, lost, etc. And millions and millions, hundreds of millions were actually lost. So there are a lot of benefits to digital currencies, and we'll talk about some of that as well. Now, a quick blast from the past is something I heard from a very wise man. Basically, when you have a massive dollar devaluation or the risk of one, the best thing you can do is own things that hurt your feet when you drop it on them. I just thought it was very, very simplistic, very easy to relate to. Obviously, think about silver or gold or something tangible, something heavy that you need to own during times of inflation. And there's no doubt we're going into that crazy time. So central banking today, printing money like there's no tomorrow. That's the plan. It's not a secret. It's happening. Meanwhile, in Europe, the European Central Bank is in as much a world of hurt as the United States is with the Fed. So there's two things that happen in Europe today. Is bankrupt countries can issue bonds at negative yields, which makes no sense, but they can do that. And corporations are on the verge of default on their loans, can sell their debt to the European Central Bank, which is going to guarantee a loss to the European Central Bank. So that's a little bit of the craziness happening back in Europe. Let's see what's happening in North America. So the Fed isn't just creating massive amounts of dollars from scratch, but they're using the new money to pay their own debt, which is massive and increasing all the time. So if there was an auditor in the heavens somewhere looking down at all of this, they'd say, this is crazy, but it's happening and it's real. So what happens when interest rates are zero or negative? So for those who may not know, a negative interest rate is when you have, say, $1,000 in your bank account and the bank charges you like minus 2% just for them to hold your money. That's already happening in Europe, and it could start happening here soon. So what happens when negative interest happens or where there's no return on your money? What people do is they throw the money into the stock market. So you're seeing a very frothy stock market right now. They invest in real estate like homes and home buying, or precious metals like gold and silver, although it's not really reflected in the gold price at all because it continues to tank. And I hope my gold video had nothing to do with that. And of course, crypto, where a lot of money is going. There's no point in leaving your money sitting in a bank account where it's debasing by 7 to 15% per year. So you have no choice. You've got to invest it in something. And these are the 4 categories of where it's actually going. Now, another thing I just want to point out as well, and it may seem like I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but as usual, there's a method to my madness. So be patient. So we have this new world of gig working, like Uber drivers, borderless workers, and borderless payments. So what do I mean by borderless workers? That could be me hiring somebody in Pakistan to get scammers out of my YouTube channel. And that's a thing, by the way. And I pay him using something like PayPal today. But I wish I could pay him with a little bit of Ethereum or Bitcoin. And I'm sure he would be very happy with that. Now, so the reason this is important is 50% of government revenue is based on income tax. That means they take the tax off your paycheck at the source in real time. But with contract and gig workers, they don't get the revenue immediately. So that's going to be a problem for the governments when it comes to funding their government activities. Also, the rise of the digital workforce has made everybody start to work remote, and people to support people all over the world from different countries. So you got this globalization of remote workers and crypto payments, and everything has become borderless. So the question is, who's going to be able to collect the money where and where? Where and when? From whom? How? Which currency? Which government gets the money? This is going to be very difficult as we go forward into the future. Just to summarize the situation, money printing is going to continue as the only solution to problems. Those that hold assets that inflate, for example, people who own property or gold or other precious metals, even crypto, they will remain happy. And then the people that don't have assets that are inflating fast, they're getting stimulus checks, i.e. the redistribution of printed money. And that will keep people happy, at least for now, but it's not going to last forever. Definitely at some stage, when people don't have enough work, don't have good enough pay, can't pay their bills and healthcare, they're going to get frustrated. So what is a central bank digital currency? And how does it work? So the present world today, you've got your central bank that issues real money to the banks, that distribute it to the people and the corporations, and ultimately to the end users by offering services. The future is the Fed will work directly with a central bank digital currency, which will be on a blockchain, and then people will access that directly. It's like you will have your own bank account with the Fed. So think of the previous step of the present. All those intermediaries will be gone. You'll be working directly with the Fed, which is good and bad. And then the banks will be dotted line to both the CBDC as well as you for different types of services. So that's the future. Now, the important thing to stress about this is every touch point, no matter which model you're talking about, requires trust. And I'm going to come back to that in a while. But you need that trust everywhere you go. You need to be able to trust your bank. You need to be able to trust the services. The bank needs to be able to trust the Fed, et cetera, et cetera. And people need to be able to trust the CBDC. So it kind of goes around full circle. So what are the benefits of a CBDC? Well, it's more efficient. Money doesn't get lost. It's easier to make payments to individuals in the time of stimulus needs or unemployment benefits. You can customize money. So that means you can charge different interest rates for different people. You can even penalize them, which is a separate thing. And also, it should, if you ban currency per se, you should be able to ban all crime. How can you pay for drugs or prostitution or other types of illegal acts if you don't have cash? Now, there is a dark side to the CBDC. People will lose control. You will not be able to control what you buy or who you pay without somebody being watching you the whole time. Who pays you will also be controlled. There could be confiscation in case you've got a bad political belief or criminal record or something like that. The central bank digital currency can also charge negative interest rates to penalize you, or depending on your situation, or control you in some way or another. And that's the whole area of behavioral economics that can be driven by this. And net, basically, freedom is less. And this is what has a lot of people very worried. So again, the big picture here is this good or bad for Bitcoin? And what impact will it have in the future? And we're going to get to that right now. So, conclusion real fast, as always. Writing is on the wall for central bank digital currencies. It's already happening. The People's Bank of China will be the first to have one probably, and it should launch 2022 or 2023. And just think of that. The People's Bank of China will be able to control every flow of money between every individual and every corporation. And believe me, they will be monitoring things very carefully. And they would like that currency as well to be the world reserve currency at some stage in the future as China becomes the world superpower. There's also the Orwellian role of CBDC. And I'm not somebody who is anti-government or anything like that, but some people will be concerned about the actual control and the fear of loss of freedom. And some people will also believe there'll be too much power in the hands of government. However, I believe Bitcoin will benefit because it's a way to circumvent CBDCs and the way to control your own destiny. So the only way is up. And as usual, all roads lead to Bitcoin because this type of stuff will terrify people. Now, remember a couple of slides back, I talked about trust. And you need to have trust every step of the way. Well, the other beauty is Bitcoin is trustless. You don't need to trust anybody. You can just trust the math. The math will take care of everything. So the answer, as always, I believe Bitcoin will gobble up the central banks at some stage, or at least have an impact on them to allow those that have some crypto to be a little bit more free. So if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Appreciate all the support, everybody. Patreon community as well. Thank you for being there. Love working with you every day. And watch for the scammers. They are more aggressive than ever before. Maybe because I have more subscribers. They're in there, so just be careful. They imitate me. They clone me. We block them 24 hours a day, but they're still there. Be careful, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy and be safe and be free.